I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. In my last video, I read the first half of chapter 9 in 2 Kings. And this is the story. Jehu, who is just a captain among many in the army of Israel, has been anointed to be the next king in Israel and given the command to destroy the house of Ahab, to wipe them out. Just like we destroyed the house of Jeroboam and we destroyed the house of Baasha earlier, we are going to completely destroy the house of Ahab. When he's got this message, all the other captains, without thought, without consideration, when he gets this message, all the other captains, without hesitation, join him and say, yes, we will support you in becoming king. And so now Jehu is heading back to Jezreel, where the king is injured and lying on a sickbed. Jehu is returning to the city of Jezreel to fulfill the commands of God. One messenger was sent out who decided to join him. Now we pick this up in verse 19. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu answered, What hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, He came even unto them, and cometh not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. And Joram said, Make ready. And his chariot was made ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth, the Jezreelite. So once the second messenger joins Jehu, and the watchmen are saying, this guy's style of driving looks like Jehu. But Jehu evidently was well known for being somewhat reckless in the way he drove his chariot. So they recognize him, and the king says, okay, these guys aren't coming in peace. So they get their chariots and they go out to meet him, go out to battle. And where are they fighting? I find it interesting. They're fighting in the land that was owned by Naboth, who Ahab murdered in order to take his vineyard. Very poetic justice here. Verse 22. And it came to pass when Joram saw Jehu that he said, Is it peace, Jehu? And he answered, What peace, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many? And Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, There is treachery, O Ahaziah. And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Jehoram between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then said Jehu to Bidkar his captain, Take up, and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember how that when I and thou rode together after Ahab his father, the Lord laid this burden upon him. Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, saith the Lord, and I will requite thee in this plat, saith the Lord. Now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground according to the word of the Lord. So recall, yes. When Ahab, or Jezebel actually, arranged the murder of Naboth, Elijah told him, the men of your family will die in the fields of Naboth, and Jezebel will die in the city. The dogs will eat Jezebel, and the birds will eat the men. And so the king, Joram, or Jehoram, he comes out. His two messengers didn't come back, so he went out personally to find out, make sure that this was peace or not. When he finds, Jehu says, no, there's no peace. Your family has been too evil. We have to put a stop to it. Jehoram tries to run. Jehu shoots him with his bow. Very, they get somewhat graphic in their details occasionally in the Bible. So the arrow hits him between the shoulders and comes right out the chest through the heart, killing him instantly. And then he throw him into the field to fulfill the prophecy of Elijah. So Jehu, it's clear that the prophecy of Elijah is well known. at least among the leaders of the people, they all know the prophecy. And Jehu is saying, yes, we got to follow them. We got to make sure that that prophecy is fulfilled. And so he throws the body over there. Verse 27. And when Ahaziah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. And Jehu followed after him and said, smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up of Gur, which is by Ibleam. And he fled to Megiddo and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem and buried him in his sepulchre with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. Okay. So he killed both kings. We are starting new reigns in both Israel and Judah at the same time, kind of resetting things, you might say. But Ahaziah tried to run away, and Jehu said, no, they're together, they died together. Anyways, verse 30. And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face, and tied her head, and looked out at a window. And as Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, had Zimri peace who slew his master? And he lifted up his face to the window, and said, who is on my side? Who? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs. And he said, throw her down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trode her under foot. And when he was come in, he did eat and drink, and said, go, see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. And they went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull, and the feet, and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, this is the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, in the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, this is Jezebel. Okay, when it says tired her head, this is adorning her head. It's like she's setting her hair in a kind of a bun crown thing on the top. Exactly what it means, we're not exactly sure, but that's what it is. That's the general idea. But I like that, he comes to the castle. And Jezebel, looking all regal, is calling out, she's trying to intimidate Jehu. Remember Zimri, he reigned for only 1 week because he conspired and murdered the son of Baasha. And then Omri came and, and she's saying, look, Zimri didn't do so well when he went into revolt against his king. Do you think you're going to do any better? It's an intimidation tactic. But I like Jehu just stops and he calls up, says, hey, is there anybody up there who's with us who thinks the Jezebel needs to be killed? And a couple of eunuchs come to the window and say, yeah, we're with you. And he said, look, chuck her down here. And so they throw her out the window. And it says her blood sprinkled the wall and the horses, meaning that she didn't fall just 5 feet or anything. No. She plummeted and went splat, possibly striking the side of the wall on the way down. So we again get nice graphic details here in the Bible. But they then trample her, make sure she's dead, trample her with the horses. Then they go in and eat dinner. And then he sends us, look, let's go get her body out, bury it. But when they do, all they can find are the extremities, the head, the hands, and the feet. Because the dogs have eaten everything else. So, again, very graphic, very kind of, But it's the end of Jezebel fulfilling the prophecy of Elijah. And Jehu is now king in Israel. We will pick this up in chapter 10, reading a little bit more about Jehu.